Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is your host Hamas Najib and welcome to Honestly Speaking. Alhamdulillah, today we are honored with a very special guest. We are honored with Mufti Abdul Rahman Waheed from Detroit, Michigan. He is also from the founders of Miftah Institute. Hi Musab, Jazakallah khair for joining us. Musab, first and foremost, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about what got you to do Alim course and what was the inspiration behind it?
That's a great question. I don't like answering questions like that about myself because a couple of reasons. You know, if you ask that question to someone who's older, then he can tell you I made a conscious decision and I decided to do this. Like for example, students who come from Al-Hassanain, 17, 18, 19, 21 years old. You can say this is what inspired me to get here. But I do like the concept of like parents honing in on one thing. Like my parents are the ones that, my dad's a physician, my mother's a physician. My father, alhamdulillah, got inspired through the work of da'wah when he was in medical school in Pakistan. So his entire family's on one side of the spectrum. He's the youngest brother. And he one day goes to Raiwa and people take him there and he, decides to change his life. And once he decides to change his life, he also then decides to change what he's looking for in a spouse. And so alhamdulillah, it happened at the right time. Because sometimes it happens right later on, right? So Allah made it in a way where it happened right. So now he's not just looking for a pious spouse, but he's looking for a spouse who's also very, very familiar with the effort of deen. Not just, there's one that's, someone who's just pious, but then someone who's inspired to change people's lives, to be part of this effort, to have children who are going to be examples of Sahaba. So it was, alhamdulillah, my mother and my father got married. They came to America. And my father got, so he finished his med school in Pakistan, but he decided to do pathology because pathology is behind the scenes and it's less work, and that's what he wanted to do in Michigan State University in cancer research. So he moved here. So before we were even born, it was already something that they already had decided between the two of them that all of our kids are going to become Hafiz, Alim, Mufti, Da'i. 4 things. Hafiz, Alim, Mufti, Da'i. 4 things that we were doing dhikr of all our life since we were kids. So all credit goes to them, Of course, it goes the effort of da'wah. Then, you have this, this idea of parents deciding. That whole idea of don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's incorrect at times. Sometimes it's true, but when it's children, you should put all your eggs in one basket, and push it. Don't the people of sciences do that? They doctor that. Khalas, that's it. There's no second option. There's no second option. That's what they want to do. So same thing, I've seen many of my father's friends have told me this. We try to convince your dad, don't do that. You should give them options. And he says, look, if they want options when they grow older, but at this point, this is what I want them to do. So my journey started as a baby. I was 5 months old when my father and mother left me, and sounds like, why would parents do this for? But really, people who do great things in life always do things leave people, why did they do this? They always leave that question, jaw-dropping moments, really? This guy lived out of his garage? This guy slept 21 hours, like Elon Musk? Really? Why would you do something like that for, right? Even the people of deen, that's how it works. You have to be majnoon, crazy you have to be dedicated. And of course, it's not something everyone has to do, but if that's that ambition you have. So my father, he left me at someone's house, and he went 4.5 months with my mom to Sudan in Jamaat with my mother. I stayed at someone's house in Lahore. My brother stayed at someone else's house, separated. So we started at that age. Inna Allah la yudhi'u ajra man ahsana amala. Inna Allah la yudhi'u ajra al-muhsinin. One thing that is conclusion, fact, Allah will never waste your good deed. Never. Even if that good deed is done by a non-believer, that he will get something back. Something will happen to him. You see, it's like the same rule of madloom. Even if the zalim is a believer, Allah's help is not with him. His du'as are not accepted. And even if the madloom is a kafir, Allah's help is with him. So basically, when you ask me about your journey, it's I don't know where my journey starts. I know where it is now. Right now, basically, they put me on this path, right? And my father and my mother, we were young, then we went to school. Then they'd look for the best institutions and send us to become hafiz and alim. I remember when I was about 7, 8 years old, it was the Bulls era. I was a huge Bulls fan. So 97, 98, the second time Jordan came back out of retirement. The first time, sorry. And Jordan used to drive a Ferrari. His license plate said His Airness. I mean, he was really arrogant. And Scottie Pippen used to drive a Nissan 300ZX. And I think I told you the story, right? And he used to drive a Nissan 300ZX. And I loved Jordan so much, but I knew I can get a Ferrari. So I had a poster of a 300ZX on my wall in our studio little apartment in Lansing. And my father came back home one day and he saw it and he said, "Who put this picture up?" My brother said, "Abdul Rahman did." He asked me, "Why did you put this picture up?" I said, it's not a picture of a person. It's not haram, So my dad said, "I'm not asking you about that," because he's more of like he's from an educated, calculated background. So he's always asking the why question, right? But he's asking, "Why did you do this for?" And I said, "Because I have a dream to have this car one day." And pretty much he said that, "Dream bigger than that, son. Because, so what should the dream be?" He said, "Hafiz, alim, mufti, da'i. Khalas." That's it. When we used to sleep at night, Maulana, my dad used to make us sing this lullaby. Dur dur jayenge, kalme ko philayenge, abbu bhi jayenge, ammi bhi jayegi. पैसे हो तो जाएंगे, पैसे ना तो हो तो जाएंगे, सर्दी हो तो जाएंगे, गर्मी हो तो जाएंगे, खाना हो तो जाएंगे, खाना ना हो तो जाएंगे, दूर दूर जाएंगे, कलमे को फैलाएंगे, and whoever could make it longer, like add more things, like sifas, that person would win the competition that night. Yeah, Abdul Bhaijan bhi jayenge, Abdulaziz, like that would say names of people, Khala bhi, like we should start adding things, and we would go on for 5 minutes. So when parents do that to a child, khalas, man, they deserve all the credit. All you did was you just went on that journey. That's it. So we have to be honest with ourselves, And the problem with that is that we have children now too. It's interesting in Surah Maryam when Allah talks about Zakariya alayhi salam, Yahya alayhi salam, speaks about Maryam alayhi salam, to Isa alayhi salam, speaks about Ibrahim alayhi salam, speaks about Ismail alayhi salam, Ishaq alayhi salam, Idris alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, Harun alayhi salam. After all that, he says, فَخَلَفَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ فَسَوْفَ يَلْقَوْنَ غَيًّا. من بعدهم أي من بعد الرسل, like after these people, these great individuals I just mentioned, there came a generation that wasted their salah, followed their desires, so they had a very dreadful end. So deen does not inherently, just transfer to the next generation. We have to do the same thing for our children. So my journey started there. It's still there. My parents are always putting us in the right path, helping us, guiding us. And so I'm fortunate not everyone has that. And I really I admire people who don't have that and still persevere and do it, like my parents. They didn't have that. But now that we do have it, that's how my journey started, and that's where I studied, and I'm still in that path.
So where did you do your alim course?
I did my alim course in a place called Ajax. It's in Canada. It's a city it was known through its city, like how Benoni town is known through Newtown, like that type of thing. It was a really interesting time, that madrasa. I went there in 97, and Alhamdulillah, Hassanain reminds me of these places, our mothers who were trying to become like, I would say that without a doubt, Ajax Madrasa from 1997 till like 2005-06 was one of the best places to be in North America. It was beautiful, everyone had so much love for each other. It was a nice institution. We studied over there, boarding school. We did our high school at the same time. That was the vision behind the school, was finish high school at the same time. Come when you're young and stay till you're old. Everyone has a different vision, Their vision was, which is more challenging, way more challenging, because there's way more people that leave because they're kids, you got to wait till they get older. So it was very challenging, but basically I studied in Ajax Island course, did my takhasus in Benoni town, Karachi. And in 2006 I finished, 2007, 8, 9, 3 years takhasus I did. And I came back in 2009 to Michigan. I left Michigan 97 and I came back 2009.
So after that, you went for Sal.
No, I did not go for Sal.
No, you didn't go right after that, but you went for Sal. And your journey of Sal is very well known and famous.
Really?
So at least in the Hassanain circle, it is. And so can you tell us a little bit about that? Because from what I have been told, you went to Pakistan not to go for Sal, but you ended up spending Sal. So, can you tell us a little bit
Yes,
about
I
that?
mean, see, the thing is, you know how the students, it's like someone like me comes to Tashkil, who's ready, guys, and people naam likh lete hain saal ke liye. I was stubborn all my life, never to stand up, because I was one of those people. Like I was one of those people that if I stood up and wrote my name, like I'll feel morally obliged to go. So I never in my life stood up for 1 year in my life. I never went for 3 days in madrasa because I was too young. Because remember, I started when I was 9, 10 years old. So I never went for 3 days. So I never was, my parents were, but I just kind of, like, I was like, man, I did 10, 12 years in madrasa. Like, I was not having it. So I came in 2006. So you rarely find people who leave, like, for Sal 5, 6 years later. Once you get in your life, it's difficult. I mean, it's better you do it right away. So when I came back, Mona, I'll tell you something. It was, I was 2 years I was here, between the Khassus and Sal, because I spent 3 years in the Khassus. It was a very interesting time because in those 2 years I was going to work from 9 o'clock in the morning to like 5, 6 o'clock. When one of my dad's healthcare businesses, and I was running it very successfully. So I felt like I was like, yes, I'm an entrepreneur now, right? So you feel like that, you have that. I had no love for it, but I was excited for it. It's not like the money was coming to me, but it was really good business and it was successful. We grew up to another business and I was like all into it. But at the same time, I was doing pre-med. So I was doing 12, 14 credits.
You were doing pre-med.
Yeah. Same time, I was doing full college, 14, 18 credits a semester at Wayne State University. So I'm doing college plus doing full time, overseeing this whole, this whole business, which is a very, very demanding business. Not like something you have to just, sit. I had to learn from scratch everything, and everyone to school for it. At the same time, I had my shauqs, like my little hobbies, which was basketball every night, a few hours. Weekends going to the track, stupid things like that. You have all these, these hobbies, and where does deen come in then? Deen, madrasa protected me from sins. That's true, because you don't get involved with like bad things. And I was never involved. I never went disclaimer, I'm not into movies. I never went to a theater since I was 12 years old. I could care less about a movie. I could care less about the video games. So I was not that's what deen does to you. It protects you, but you're not doing what you set out to do. I never, I was still a scholar, a mufti, but this is a mufti. That's all a mufti would do. Yeah, people would say, yes, that's great. You should do that. Uthman anhu and Abdul Rahman Waheed were mutajirs and had money. Okay, name me 3 more Sahaba. Name me a few more. It ends there. So they give you those examples. So basically, in those 2 years, Malana, I got stuck pretty much, and I was so fortunate that my older brother, we're very close. That's why when my Sheikh Abdul Rahman was very difficult for us. But my older brother and Sheikh Ammar, he's one of our friends and scholars, who's Palestinian, they had full intention to spend 1 year. My older brother graduated 3 years after me. So he was going to stay back 1 year, work, and then go the next year. So they already had that mind made up. So 2011 was planned. He was going to go in April. I was taking my semester. I told my father that I would not be okay with dropping him off at the airport. I'm really bad at saying bye to people, I'm not good at that. So I said to him that I've been in Pakistan for a year and a half. I know better Urdu than him. I can take him to Raiwand, introduce him to people, and then come back. Mind you, that I just got married 4 months before that.
Before you left?
Yeah, in April. I just got married a few months before that. So in that semester, I was busy, and my wife's like, hey, we have to go for vacation because you've been so busy all semester. I said, don't even worry about it. I got it. I'll book something. I'll surprise you. The day of my final exam, I was supposed to go Friday. It was Wednesday, and I hadn't booked anything. So I went on Google, cheap vacations. When you Google these, when you don't have knowledge, when you don't know what to Google. That's when you're really bad. You don't even know what to put in Google. So I'm cheap vacations in America, and of course, Las Vegas and South Beach were the first ones. So I didn't know much about South Beach. So I'm yeah, we'll go to Miami, South Beach. Let's go there. And it was the biggest mistake. I didn't get out of my hotel room for 3 days. There's nothing. I couldn't do nothing there. It was so bad. The only thing I did was I went to a Miami Heat versus Boston Celtics game in the playoffs when LeBron and Dwayne were, and I took my wife with me. I was I don't know what I was doing. I was a scholar, everything, but was so attached to sports, so attached to doing these different things. of course, we're still, trying our best with our deen and everything, giving khutbahs, giving speeches. People are still like, Sheikh, that was an amazing speech. That's why I really, when people tell me, oh, I heard your speech all the time, I'm like, please forget about it. That's what I tell them. Like, I don't, that's how and that's why I never get to tell someone, oh, that was a great time. I don't know, like, that people were telling me that in 2010 too. So then my brother was, right when I told my dad, I'm going to take him. Right when I came back from the vacation for 3 days, my dad, he's a slick one, huh? The moment you tell him something, you do something good, he grabs you. So he said, when I came back, he booked our flight to Pakistan. He booked my flight for 10 days. To go and just drop them off. So I get to Pakistan. I don't take any luggage, nothing with me. I just go with my brother, my Mullah Ammar, and my Khalu and his driver to drop them off in Rywand. We get to Rywand. I get out. It was
at this point, you have no intention of spending time in Rywand.
No, of course not. I have no blanket, nothing with me, no clothes. I get to Rywand and I go straight to meet Ma Ihsan Sahib because I really, really love Ma Ihsan Sahib. Like the elders over there, I love them. Like deeply, all of them. Ma Abdul Rahman Sahib who passed away, Ma Ihsan Sahib, Ma Jamshid Rahmatullah, Ma Khurshid Sahib, Ma Tara Jamil Sahib, all of them, Ma Abdul Rahman Sahib, they're all amazing people. They're just good, like they're people you want to be around. Yeah. So you're not going to avoid them. Doesn't matter what happens, you want to meet them. You're going to try to figure out a way to meet them. So I met Ma Ihsan Sahib, it was Dhuhr time, and we went to his room to meet him, and he knows our parents and our family. I sat down, I introduced my older brother and Sheikh Ammar, and he asked me, what are you doing? I said, I'm here to drop them off, and I'm flying out for 9 days. He said, what are you going to do for 9 days? I said, I'm going to go to Lahore and do some shopping. He said to me that people from Pakistan go to America to shop. Why are you coming here to shop? Why don't you spend time with these guys? I couldn't say no to him. I said, okay, no problem. I'll just spend time. He's not asking for something unreasonable. I'll go for 9 days and go fly out. In those first few days, I ended up staying for 40 days because of Sheikh Ammar. Sheikh Ammar said, you know what, stay a little bit longer. We need you. We need you as a translator. We need you to stay with us. It's a little bit difficult. So I said, fine. He asked me, I couldn't say no. Because we have love for each other. A lot of things you do with love for each other. I ended up going to Pakistan because I love my brother and my friend. Sometimes out of love you can do big things. When I went for the 9 days, I decided to go for 40 days because of Sheikh Ammar. And then in the next tashkil, I was in Mansehra, and I started to see how valuable the treasure that Allah has placed in our heart was for people. You study for 10, 12 years. People, dunya doesn't value you, man. You're just a regular dude. The office, anyone can do that. Pre-med, anyone can do that. My Shaykh used to say that in all these years, I've made you gold. Go in the path of Allah. They'll make jewelry out of you. And then people will value you. That's what he said. He used to say to his graduates. And I seen that. I went to Mansehra. People, you have something that Allah has given you. It's a responsibility now. And I started seeing people valuing it so much. I started to see that I'm valuable. When you have the inferiority complex, now you feel like, mere paas kuch hai yaar, I have something to offer people. And I have to learn more. I have to learn how to do this. So nobody in the world, Maulana, ever sat down with me to say, go for 1 year. Nobody. Actually, it was forbidden to tell me to do that because I might run away. They said, don't tell this kid anything. One day I woke up in the morning. I went to my brother and my Sheikh Ammar. I said, I'm spending 1 year. And they're like, you sure? I said, yes, I'm spending 1 year. And they hugged me and they cried, man, that would be the best thing. Are you sure about your wife and this, that?
How did you end up telling your wife and everybody that you're about to spend 1 year? Why did you never tell them?
I wrote a letter.
Oh, you wrote a letter.
I wrote a letter and I faxed it from a PCO in Mansehra to our office, and my friend put it in an envelope and took it to my where I live with my mom, and put it in the mailbox. My wife read the letter. That's how she found it. I never spoke to her.
And okay, moving on. How was the 1 year experience? And then I'll ask you in the end. How was it when you came back home?
I would say that 1 year actually gave you, people have a lot of passion. Like, mashallah, you have passion. You do this podcast and stuff. People have. I don't think anyone can deny there's a lot of passion in the air. People are passionate about things, but they don't have direction.
Yeah.
I want to do for deen. So I believe that 1 year, it couples passion with direction. It gives you a direction. It tells you, okay, this is how you should live your life. It just gives you direction. The passion people have, man. So many people have passion. Any organization in America, Muslim organization, get so many volunteers. How?
Because of the passion.
The people have passion. We have Miftaah conferences, all these volunteers. I'm like, where did all this stuff come from? And not a single person is paid, right? Mashallah, in our madrasa khidmat, people have so much passion. That's what students are supposed to be. Our teachers are responsible. Direct them, channel their passion. 1 year Jamaat does that for a scholar. A scholar graduates and says, "What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Should I go to college? Should I start a business? Should I start teaching? I want to do for deen. Where do I find a place where I could be utilized in an effective manner?" And remember, like I said that today in the talk, like you cannot master many subjects. You cannot. It's impossible. The idea of the scholar knows it all is no. It's not how it works. Be really good at one and know all of them. That's fine. So 1 year Jamaat taught me that. It gave me direction. The moment I landed back in America, for example, Mu'tar Jami Sahib, on the last day of our Jamaat, we sat with him and he says, I want to speak to you guys before you leave. And we said to Maulana, my brother said to Maulana, like, today's our last day. He said, Kal ana, maine aapse baat karni hai. My brother's like, no, like this is our last day. We're not coming back tomorrow. Let's go for 1 day. Our flight's tomorrow. He israr kiya, mashallah. We came back the next day to meet him, and he was, long story short, he was very adamant about finding out what we're doing to get back. He's like, make sure you open institutions. We had no intention to open madrasa.
So that's how the whole Miftah Institute.
That's how madrasa started.
That's how the madrasa started.
Zero. When I left madrasa in Ajax, I was like, if there's one thing I'm not going to do in my life is madrasa. Because madrasa's not easy.
So it was Mu'tar Jami Sahib who gave you that.
And now, not only him. So what happened was they sat down, they said, you have to do this, give us targheeb. Even then I wasn't convinced. We got up from last day, we got up from there. We met him. We went over to meet Mohsan Sahib. We sat down with them. They always asked, वापस जाके क्या नियत है आप लोगों ने क्या करना है? So even then, when he asked me, I didn't tell him madrasa. I said, we're going to go back, tabligh करेंगे, tijarat करेंगे, ये करेंगे, वो करेंगे, ठीक है? Like the random, the general stuff. He said, madrasa zarur khulna. He said the same thing. Then we go to Haji Abdul Rahman Sahib, rahmatullah alayhi, to meet him. And he's the biggest da'i ever. He doesn't talk about nothing but Allah. Yeah. Madrasa zarur khulna.
Oh, okay.
Because over there, the idea is that the effort of da'wah needs ulama. Yeah. So if you, people like my father, been doing the work of da'wah for all these years. The dream of Maulana Ilyas was that every jama'ah should have one alim. Yeah. Right? And so where's ulama going to be produced? Madaris. And only in those madaris where the founders and people have the vision to, not to force it, but to introduce it, but to live it by example. This is how it's done. Like, we could do everything. You can be a good teacher, you can be good in your funoon, but you can also do this because people benefit from this, because people are different levels and you have to meet them at each level that they're on. That's how when we came back, and that's how the vision started in 2012. When we came back, we told my father's like, well, if they said it, are you going to do it? We'll give it a shot. That's how we started when we came back.
That's how you started with the madrasa, and then when did Miftah?
That's how we started with Michigan Islamic Institute, which we're still confused whether we still till this day don't have a name of it. You know that? You guys are lucky you just said Hassanain. Till this day, we don't know what our name is.
Michigan Islamic Institute.
We don't like that name. I don't like that name. MI.
That's why you're known by Miftah.
That's why Miftah became known because online. I actually like the name Misk. Khitamuhu Misk.
So why did you choose Miftah then?
No, for MI I'm saying.
Okay.
Misk. Michigan Institute of Sacred Knowledge.
Oh, that's nice.
Misk.
Michigan Institute of Sacred Knowledge.
Right? So,
yeah,
just change it right now, huh?
Yeah. That's what it is now.
So basically, Michigan is, first it was Macomb Islamic Institute or something like that. We had to change it because Macomb is our county. People were like, where's Macomb? Like, they couldn't say to me, MI. Basically, that's our madrasa. Then when Maulana, was it Dawood? Yeah, when Maulana Dr. Muslim came in 2017 or 18, there were students from Hassanin that were there. Were you there at that time? There were students from Hassanin that were there in that house in Pickering or Whitby, whatever, Pickering, I think so. And we met him. We went to the house afterwards. We're drinking chai, and Maulana asked a question. And when he asks questions, like there's like a lot of thought behind it. He says, "ठीक है, तुम बेटे तुम्हें बताओ कि हसनैन में कितने तलवा पढ़ते हैं?" Like that. So the person said, whatever at that time, whatever, I'm 20, 30, 40, whatever students was it. ठीक है, आप लोगों के दर में कितने पढ़ते हैं? 30, 40, whatever it was that time. Then he asked me how many other madrasas in America. I said, Elgin, you have Dar es Salaam, all these different places named Buffalo. Okay, collectively, all these madrasas, how many students are studying right now? I would say, even now, maybe not 1,000.
Yeah, not 1,000.
Maybe not, even now. At that time, ऐसे मैंने guess करके, I made it a big exaggerative number. I said 1,000. And it was wrong for sure. It's not even 1,000 till right now. Then he said, how many Muslims are in America? Okay. Then he took the percentage. He said, the people that you are working on is not even 0.01% of the population. और आप लोग मेहनत कर रहे हो, बिल्डिंग बना रहे हो, ये कर रहे हो, वो कर रहे हो, ठीक है, बहुत अच्छा है. But how about those people that cannot come here? What are you doing for them? Then he said something. You know what? Great people say things, they don't even realize the impact of it. Trust me. Trust me. I bet you he doesn't remember meeting us in Ryburn. I can guarantee you that. I can guarantee you that. He probably doesn't remember. My son doesn't remember. That's what happens, right? Yeah. People even tell me that sometimes. Oh, you told me this. I'm like, really? Like, I'm a little kid. Like, but, I mean, and I don't remember. I'm like, I remember that.
Shows your greatness.
Oh, come on, man. Like, I don't remember anything. Like, one of them asked you asked this question. Like, you don't remember. You just, in passing, you say it, Yeah. So in passing, you said, more people have less time. And less people have more time. Yeah. So the more people that have less time, it will be an investment that's really worth it, the ROI, if you do something for them. If they come 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week, 5 hours, whatever you have. And that's where the vision of Miftah came. But my idea of Miftah, when we sat down and talked about it, was مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان. That there's salt water and there's sweet water. And there's a barzakh between them. No one denies the benefit of the salt water and no one denies the benefit of the sweet water. But the benefit is there when it's both separated. So there's no intermingling, there's no compromise. And I was a vocal about this from the beginning. Like, Alim course, 7 years, 6 years. We don't want no 1 year thing leaving. Like, we don't want that. If you want to do that Miftah. You want to do part-time, do that in Miftah. But madrasa is madrasa. This is a sanctuary, this is sacred. That's how the vision started. Alhamdulillah, I feel like there are certain things that you don't want to do in these sacred environments. We don't, it's for different, different audience, different people. You don't need a market for Al Hasanain. Yeah. You don't need a market for MI. Like, let's go online and tell people about what we're doing. The people that want it, they know where to come get it. But
especially in America.
Exactly, but for Miftah and stuff, you have to show people this is what you have to offer. Or really, you have courses on Surah Taha, you have this, so people get interested in stuff like that. That's how it started.
Mufti, I know we're short on time. Can you talk about the two Iqbal poetries that you mentioned? One was about the sight of the falcon, and then the second one was the Sukutul Qalb.
I'll say one of them. We don't have time today. So
whichever one you like.
So उक़ाबी रूह जब बेदार होती है जवानों में तो नजर आती है उनको मंजिल आसमानों में. Right? Basically, this is what many different times he says, तू शाही है पसेरा कर पहाड़ों की चट्टानों में. नहीं तेरा नशेमन सब्ज़ गुंबद की सुल्तानी पर तू शाही है बसेरा कर पहाड़ों की चट्टानों पर. Like, this is another Shaheen thing. And then he says, another place he talks about, कि मैं परिंदों की दुनिया का दरवेश हूँ मैं कि शाहीन बनाता नहीं आशियाना. So he talks about Shaheen and falcon a lot. And what he actually refers to, if you look at his poems, he speaks about the Shaheen, which is a falcon. Uqab, Shaheen is either a falcon or eagle. People, Yeah. So he refers metaphorically to the youth of the ummah. That's the example of Iqbal's Shaheen is the youngster of this ummah. Like, we're sitting here right now. So people have dissected that. Why does he speak about this? Because there are certain qualities that this falcon has that he wants to. Uqabi ruh jab bedar hoti hai jawano mein. Like, when you develop the spirit of this falcon, to nazar aati hai unko manzil asmano mein, then their farsightedness increases. Because a falcon, number one, it could see its prey almost 2 miles away. So, like, we're very narrow-minded people, Whatever we see benefit in, we do it, but we cannot see beyond that. Sometimes difficulties push us so down. لكي لا تأسوا على ما فاتكم ولا تفرحوا بما آتاكم. The idea of, like, staying level-headed, like, don't go all the way down when you have difficulties, and don't get too up in the air when you go through prosperity. Stay level-headed, have far-sightedness. Maybe there's ni'mah that's coming to you from Allah. It's a test, right? This prosperity. So he's saying the first thing is that this Shaheen is far-sighted. It sees, so a human being should develop that. Second thing about this falcon is that it doesn't develop a comfort zone. The second thing, it doesn't. परिंदों की दुनिया का दरवेश हूँ मैं कि शाहीन बनाता नहीं आशियाना. A falcon ego does not make a nest. It always just travels. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's the idea of a believer. You know, Imam ما في المقام الذي عقل الذي أدبي من راحة فضيع الأوطان واختربي. Later on he says إني رأيت وقوف الماء يفسده إن ساح طاب وإن لم يجري لم يطيب. Long poem, but basically the idea behind it is that you never want to stay in the same place. Yeah. So he says, don't ever stay in the same place. Like the falcon never stays, it just keeps moving. Tunde बाद मुखालिफ से नगाबरा इक़ाब ये तो चलती है तुझे ऊंचा उड़ाने के लिए. Same thing I said today in the talk today. All of that same thing. The third thing is the falcon is fearless. Habibi, fearless. Courage. Has so much courage. Doesn't get scared of these blazing winds. It knows it's coming to elevate it. So a young person, we do have it in us. Young people are the ones who want to go bungee jumping, not old people. We're fearless people. Like when I was younger, I was a reckless driver. But as you get older, you become a little bit more careful. So he wants us to channel our courage and fearlessness. فَمَا آمَنَ لِمُوسَى إِلَّا ذُرِّيَّةٌ مِّن قَوْمِهِ. Right? Who are the first ones to believe in Musa alayhi salam? Fearless youngsters. They're not scared of Fir'aun. Who cares about Fir'aun? And then after that, people joined him. So he pushes us to think like that. You guys use your courage and fearlessness for the sake of Islam, for deen. Don't be afraid of poverty. Don't be afraid of what people say about you. Don't do that. Habib, you know, in Surah Taha, from the beginning till the first quarter, لا تخاف دركا ولا تخشى, that area, 8 times the word khawf and khashya is mentioned. Because imagine Musa is going to Fir'aun, man. I mean, you go into such a huge, daunting task, and all Allah tells you is idhab ila fir'aun innahu tagha. कुछ नहीं बस और no manual like ये करना है वो करना है idhab ila fir'aun innahu tagha बस और कुछ नहीं हाँ. And then he says, okay, well, Allah, you want to leave me like that? You want to leave me like that? All right. Rabbi shrah li sadri. So you want to give me no instructions? What does he do? He starts making dua. I want a brother. I want a brother who can help me. Okay, khalas. Allah says, well, لَقَدْ أُوزِيتَ سُؤْلَكَ يَا مُوسَى. Whatever you want, I'll give it to you. But then let me tell you, وَلَقَدْ مَنَّا عَلَيْكَ مَرَةً أُخْرَى. Then he tells him about all the favors. Yar, after all this, all that happens is the sigha changes. Idhab, now it's idhaba. Say nahi, it's Quran mein. Yeah. No like extra, like, you know, this, when we go somewhere, before we started the podcast, you sat with me for 3 hours. No, you didn't. So then you sit down, you're like, this is what we're doing, this is a few minutes. That's how it works. The greater the task, the more instructions you're giving to somebody. Okay? Here's a huge task. No instructions. Just go. The only 2 things that were mentioned the second time was لا تنيا في ذكري and قول له قول لينا. That's only 2 things. Don't ever become negligent of my remembrance, and say don't become immoral to fix someone's immorality. Never lose your immorality to fix someone else. Stay quiet. Be polite. Who cares how immoral that person is? So the idea is that he's saying that Uqab is fearless, man. Don't worry about anything else. Just don't worry about poverty. If I remember, Habibi, when I was 11 years old, I was a very smart kid in school, and my auntie said to me, 11 years old, auntie said to me, he's like, beta, tu mauli banega to kaun tujhe shaadi karega. You know, who's going to marry you when you become an alim, right? Little they know the first people get married is ulama. Right? So mauli banega to kaun. I remember it happened in my community because they're all physicians in the community. I came home crying. And my mom said, why are you crying? I was like, no one's going to marry me? I was a kid, innocent kid. And then I said, I mean, that's what she said. And my mom said, no, she comforted me. I mean, those same aunties are asking me to find, spouses for their children. And I got married way before any of the children. I got married like 19, 20 years old. So that's basically the idea of the uqab, that it's fearless, has far-sightedness. Fearless, far-sightedness, it doesn't make its own home, it keeps progressing. These are 4 things I mentioned. It doesn't make its own home, it never in the comfort zone, it keeps moving. So, if we develop these few qualities, these spirit of the falcon, then we can do a lot. That's what Iqbal is saying. conclude soon, inshallah.
Yeah, Musab, Jazakallah khair for your time. Jazakallah khair for coming on to the show. And may Allah grant you success. Remember us in your du'as.
Inshallah, I'll come again one day, inshallah, man. I really am, I'm happy, really happy that you're doing this. May Allah, give you more blessings and, make your voice be heard all across the world. Keep
Your voice,
keep doing this, inshallah. I'm happy when people like you do it. People do need to hear people who are grounded and also open-minded. They need to hear that, because what happens is people who are very grounded in their deen, either their voice is not being heard, or they're being perceived as people who are very they're very conservative, and they don't do anything. No, but people should see people like yourself. Keep inviting guests that are that can amplify the voice. Let people know. Not like me, but you have a good scholars list, and inshallah, if you ever need my help, I'm always one phone call away.
So honestly, the only thing that I have is, and I've learned this from our teachers from Hassanain, and even from Pakistan when I went. The only thing that I have in mind is, may Allah accept us for the khidmah of His deen. That's it. That's the only thing I have in mind. Anything we have to do for that,
add. Oh Allah, accept me for the khidmat of deen all over the world, especially in North America, with ease and comfort.
Ameen.
Add that. And I added one more thing.
Yeah,
now I added, oh Allah, accept me for the khidmat of deen at a large scale. All over the world, especially North America, with ease and comfort. Allah, this is, I know it's recorded.
These du'as come to you when you go for Saad.
No, I don't know. I want to credit everything to Tabligh. That Tabligh, they take credit for everything. But yeah, khalas, I'll tell you something. When my brother passed away, rahmatullahi alayhi, I have these interesting conversations with Allah, right? So one of the things someone said, are you sure you're allowed making that dua? I'm like, we'll find out on the Day of Judgment. So I was saying one day, I said a lot. I said, oh Allah, please use us and accept us for the khidmat of deen at a large scale, all over the world, especially North America, with ease and comfort and love among everyone who's doing the work of deen. Make us love each other like brothers, we're inseparable, And then I said, because what good is it if you're doing the work here and one's coming to work here, and you can't see each other's faces? You're doing the effort, but man, it only becomes more enjoyable when you're together. Yeah. You see what I'm saying, doesn't it? It's enjoyable because we're doing the same. We're in different states doing different efforts, but we're doing the same thing. Seriously. So I said to Allah, oh Allah, I'm not even sure if I say. I'm like, oh Allah, just listen to me, accept us, because it's not like many people are asking you for this. ये सब कोई ग्रीन कार्ड के लिए मांग रहा है, कोई शादी के लिए पूछ रहा है, कोई जॉब के लिए पूछ रहा है, बस दीन के लिए कितने लोग पूछ रहे होंगे यार, हम छोटे से बस इतने कम लोग हैं, few of us, and someone said, are you really allowed to make that dua? I'm like, yo, it's from my heart, we'll find out if it's allowed or not on the Day of Judgment. Oh Allah, accept us all, inshallah. Jazakallah khair for saying that, man.
Jazakallah khair, and assalamu alaikum to everybody that was listening. We'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.